you everyone for being here tonight. My name is James, and it's an honor and a privilege to share some stories and to have a chat and connect and give you a little bit of background on who I am, who Scott is, and through our journey, like mentoring men, is not going it alone. And we've got some exciting, events, or a big event coming up in around about 6 weeks' time, which we'll get into a few more details. And I wanted just to start off the night with a little bit of backstory, so you get some context of how Scott and I have come together, and the reasons why. And I think to start off with that, I'd just like to share a little bit of backstory about myself, and then Scott to share a little bit of backstory him, and then we can come together and have an open chat, if that's okay. But as I was saying before, born and bred in lovely Sydney. I was really fortunate to have my parents divorce at the age of 5. And the reason why I say fortunate was because I learned some great lessons of what not to do in relationships. Seeing my dad trying to communicate with my mum, seeing my dad trying to not actually dealing with anything and bottling up and going to the cave, and my mum trying to talk things out, my stepmom trying to talk things out. My dad has been, I love him to death and love him completely, but the thing is that he wasn't communicating. And I was fortunate enough to then go on a quest to find out more about communication and look at the art of communication. Growing up, I was so privileged to have 3 amazing sisters that put me right in my place when I needed to be put in my place, but also learned the feminine side, the feminine energy side of relationships and of connection. And I'm really fortunate to have that mentor, that guidance through my sisters. That led me to really dive into that communication and obviously that self-development and self-work, and got me into the area of health and fitness. Growing up, I was, right into my rugby, right into surfing, and living on the beach. It was amazing, swimming and so forth. And in the fitness industry where I moved into, a mate of mine said, Shorty, aka Short, right, last name, we're going for a little run. We want to train up for the city to surf. And I said, well, what's that? And this is a little while ago now. This is early 2000s. And he said, well, the city surf from Sydney City to Bondi, 14 Ks. I said, oh, yeah, fair enough. So we set the goal and we trained, we did the activity, and we did the city surf together. A couple of weeks later, he said to me, hey, would you be interested in doing a half marathon? I said, half marathon? I said, what's that? He goes, it's a 21K run. I said, why would you want to do a 21K run for? I said, crazy. Sure enough, set the goal, did the activity, and we did our first half marathon together. A couple of weeks after that, he said to me, hey, Shorty, I said, yeah, what now? He goes, would you be interested in doing another run? I said, well, what do you had in mind? He said, well, there's a thing called a marathon. I said, what's a marathon? He goes, it's a 42K run. I said, why would you want to run 42Ks? We've got cars for that. Anyway, set a goal, do the activity, and we ran our first marathon together, and that led into multiple marathons together. A couple months later, after I think it was about 3 or 4 marathons in, he said, like, I know you can sort of run. I've got this thing called the Shorty Shuffle. I know you can sort of run, and I know that you've swum, you're a pretty good swimmer, but can you ride a bike? I said, well, how come? He goes, well, there's a little thing in Port Macquarie called a half Ironman. I said, well, what's a half Ironman? He goes, it's a 1.8 kilometer swim, it's a 90K bike ride, and a 21K run. I said, oh, wow, that's pretty intense. Sure enough, set the goal, did the activity, and we did it. Couple half Ironmans through, and he said to me, hey, guess what? I said, oh, what have we got now? He goes, there's a thing called a full Ironman. I said, what's a full Ironman? He goes, it's a 3.8 kilometer swim, 180K bike ride, and a 42K run. And I said, well, how many days do we get to do this over? He goes, no, just the one day. And so that led me onto a quest of doing these events, and that led into trail running, led into done numerous 100K runs through the Blue Mountains, and I got to that yearning, that quest of, wow, what can I learn about myself? What can I learn about my others? And I remember one particular story where I was training up for my first ultra marathon, which was 100 kilometers through the Blue Mountains, and I I was hanging out with these other crazy cats who have done multiple ultras in the past. You know, they've already done 6 in a year, and it was only June. They've come run 500 kilometers in the Alps. And I started to be part of that group. And that really expanded my paradigm and expanded my way of thinking, because when I started to hang out with them, that would become the norm. And so when I started to talk about people around this 100K run, it was outside of their context. And even like I could only talk to, 5 or 10Ks, which was amazing in itself. And so it got me thinking, like, if this is now a new paradigm that I'm looking at, what would it be like in other areas of life? Who am I hanging out with my business? Who am I hanging out with my health? Who am I hanging out with my relationships? Who am I hanging out with my money? So it got me thinking. I was like, wow. And so these are the lessons I take on to learn about myself, to share with others along the way. Came to a point a couple of years ago to looking for another run, and I came across this amazing run called the Big Red Run. It was in the Simpson Desert. Now, the Simpson Desert, if you know it, it's the world's largest sand dune parallel desert. If you get up top of the sand dunes, all you see is more sand dunes and more sand dunes, like looking at the sets rolling in from the surf. And over 5 days, we were to run 250 kilometers. And that, once again, allowed me to take those lessons and share with family, friends, clients, and loved ones to look at, wow, what can we actually achieve? And there are multiple stories from all these races. And last year, I was so fortunate enough to be chatting to Alan Stevens, which some of you already know. And he said, Shorty, he goes, I think there's a guy that you'd really get along with. I said, okay. His name's Scott Carson. I was introduced to Scott through Alan, and we had a chat. And Scott was telling me his story, and I was telling my story, and immediately we just resonated. And he said to me, Shorty, I've got a little idea that I want to throw past you. And before he even explained me to it, I just said, I'm in. Because as sometimes we know, when we have that connection, when we have a heartfelt connection, when we know there's a bigger picture at stake, the details will work itself out. But the big picture and that connection allows it. It's like what I see is the coming together, the parts coming together for the bigger whole. And that's when we want to share some of what we're about to embark on, and share some of the stories along the way. So there's a little bit of background for myself. I'm a super proud dad of 3 amazing kids. I've got my stepdaughter, Riley, she's 28. I've got my beautiful daughter, Lily, she's 13. And my son, Tiger, who's awesome, he's 11. And my wife, Natalie, we've been together for close to 23 years. And I'm just super grateful for having a beautiful family. And coming together with Scott to embark on this journey. I actually haven't physically met Scott. All we've done is chatted online. And so this is where, once again, it's another level of, oh my gosh, and so many stories that come from it. So I just wanted to say thank you. I wanted to share a little bit about myself, and I want to get Scott to see if he would like to share a little bit about him.
Thanks. It all started because a man reached out and said, hey, mate, I'm with you. I've got your back. From out from the blue, a guy I've never met before in my life has got my back. It's no different to what mentoring men's doing. You're picking up blokes you've never met before, and you've got their back. My parents divorced when I was 9. I come from a very long line of alcoholics. I myself was an alcoholic. I went down that road because that's what I knew, that's what I understood. 14, I'm on the streets. I got taken in by another family. John, the father of that family, is still one of my great mentors today. He knew I was going through trouble. He just put a safe environment in place for me. I still went off the rails, but I had somewhere I was safe. I look back now and I look at the mentors I've had in my life, and There's been many. It's been really hard to identify them until you reflect and you actually see them. Each one of those mentors had never wanted anything else other than for me to be the best version of me. So I describe myself as a man just trying to be the best version of himself. I share my story, I share my heart, I share my life. Because I'm worth it. My son's worth it. You're worth it. This game called life, or this opportunity called life, depending on which way you want to look at it, it's one of the best things we've got. Without each other, it's pretty much irrelevant. I live by the motto, life is only a life if it's lived, and it's only well lived if you share it with other people, otherwise it stays in here. The best way you can do that is with people and share the journey, share the pain, share the stories. I didn't come here tonight to say that. But I'm glad I have. I'm so grateful that you guys and ladies are doing what you're doing. Putting your hand out. You never know when someone needs it. When Shorty reached out to me, I was low. John, you're obviously observing a little bit of what's going on. I was hurting. He's a bloke I've never met before in my life. Hey mate, I got your back. Let's do this together. Business of Smiles started out as Sunday sessions because I was going through a company partnership, my best mate for 20 years. And business didn't work out because he couldn't talk. He couldn't share what was going on in his life. He lost his wife, his house, and his business. He never said boo. He didn't have a safe place to talk. Wasn't that business hurt? Still hurts. I lost my best mate. But the difference between the two of us is one of us took on every conversation, no matter how hard they were. Went and spoke to the client, said, hey, this is what's going on. I'm really sorry. This is what I'm putting in place for this. I didn't get paid for 3 months, the end of it, because I just wanted to make sure everybody got the best they could. I'm here talking, sharing my story. All those people that I went through that journey with, the relationships bar one, still intact because I took on tough conversations. Make no mistake, I had a mentor while I did that. Paul Purden held me accountable. Mick Hawes was there just to say, hey, you're doing okay, mate. Sunday sessions came about because I was in a world of pain. And I know that I had to do something for me to make sure that I could keep going for that very reason that just walked in the door. So I had to sign up for something. So I signed up for Spartan Trifecta. And if you know what Spartan is, it's an obstacle race. This one's over 2 days and it's 42 Ks up and down Mount Mystic 3 times. So I employed the best I knew to get me through that. So we decided to start training. So it was about three years ago, and we're training, and we're running along on Sunday mornings early just because we've got family time, right? Family's important. We've got to make sure we get it done early so we get back to our family, start our day off right. As we're walking, running, jogging, we find ourselves talking. I'm not talking about football, talking about life. They gave me a safe place to be. They gave me a safe place to have conversations about what was going on in my life because it didn't just affect me, it affected my wife, affected my son, affected how we lived, affected all the relationships in our life. You know, and it's a painful time. So that got me through it. And we started sitting there. We're thinking, okay, so what do we do now? Because Spartan's coming up and we need to keep going because we're all growing through this. We're all sharing. So then we started Sunday sessions, which is the precursor to what was now the business of smiles. And the business of smiles is so important. COVID put a dent inside Sunday sessions because we couldn't be out and about. And it's at 5 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I don't know how many blokes are too keen to get up at 5 a.m. on a Sunday morning to get out and about and go for a bit of a run and a walk and have a bit of a chat. So I left a hole. And I've been lucky enough to have Shorty come on board and share it and take what was Sunday sessions to the business of smiles. And the business of smiles it's very simple. Raise your cheeks. Raise your cheeks. Or smile. You know, smiling is infectious. And I wish Oscar was still here. He'd tell you the poem off of the heartbeat, right? Because it makes such a difference to every situation. It's impossible to be angry. It's impossible to be in fear when you're smiling. It's a pretty amazing thing, yeah? Simple smile. These are a pair of socks. Yeah. We're changing the world with a pair of socks. They're not just any pair of socks. The business of smile socks. Those black dots, they represent our dark days. We all have them. No one's getting out of that. That yellow, you know that warm winter sun on your back, that real warmth? That's our community getting around you on your dark days. Because your dark days are generally between your ears. So let's talk about them. I don't just talk about this, I live it. It's how important that is. It's how important we are. I'm not sure what kind of society you want to live in. But I want to be in one where we support each other and grow. There's a story as to why I do what I do. And I'm going to ask you to have a look at our website and find out a little bit about that because I want to go through a few more things and we're getting parts at 10 past 8. But main thing I real big message I just want to share right now. So thank you.
I could pick out a lot of things, I guess, but one thing I'm proud of at the moment, I've had the guys that know me and know that I've had a pretty rough 2 or 3 years with family illnesses and illness myself and bits and pieces. And I was the guy that was always unbreakable. And I recently accepted some help myself. So I'm actually, at the moment, I'm mentoring somebody and I'm being mentored myself. And I was pretty proud that I finally accepted some help when I needed it. It's not something I would have done years ago.
You're here. Well done, mate.
That's
And
awesome.
it's working brilliantly. It's just what I needed.
This might sound a bit cliche. I'm proud of the person I am today. I went through a divorce, got broken right down to where I would say it was a really dark day where I thought about some sinister things for myself. Back in the time, there wasn't organisations like Mentoring Men. And so, you know, there were some struggles, a few doctors, etc. But, you know, pulled myself out of that tunnel and back into real life and helping now with the people who are going through similar journeys. So yeah, I'm really proud of how it's ended up.
Yeah, I think I am proud of lots of things throughout my life. I came from being an only child in England with a mum and dad who really didn't have any ambitions or travel or so. I think one of the main themes I see through my life, which I'm really proud of, is courage. I've done a lot of things which took a lot of courage for a little kid who was really insecure. And I think, yeah, being the person I am now, which is very different. You know, having run away with the circus, became a life coach, saw myself in a very different light, could forgive myself and understand my emotions, and then able to pass that on to other people. And, you know, proud of being part of mentoring men, being part of Raise.
You sometimes pinch yourself in life because things shouldn't have gone well for you, because there were a number of things that just didn't work out. And with me, education didn't really work out for a long time. There were all sorts of hiccups, and that had other social issues tied to it as well. And through a series of events, I managed to stumble into selling and marketing, which I discovered I was actually pretty good at and pretty natural at. And that more than was significant, not only from a monetary point of view, because there's a point at which you think, how can I support myself and a wife and family, blah, blah, blah. But it changed the way I viewed myself in terms of not seeing that I necessarily was as worthy or as valuable as I thought I should be. And you have a bit of, for a long time, you almost have a bit of an, I wouldn't say an inferiority complex. You don't think you're worthy. You don't think you're up to it. Your friends are all achieving around you, and why have I not, why have I failed, and all the rest of it. So there's a huge amount of self-doubt, and a bit of business success and whatever have you led from one thing to another. I had a couple of great, really great mentors, and they are still my great friends today, and they sort of pulled me through all sorts of things, business and personal. And there's no question I would not have really achieved anything without those people, and then later on with the support of my wife. So you sort of, how did all this happen? It shouldn't have happened, given things didn't really work out for quite a while. So yeah, I'm very proud that you end up getting to this stage of life and things are better than you actually had dreamt they would be.
Very nice, Peter. Thank you very much indeed. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to your story. It's and those people, those important people along the way that are there to have your back, as we've been hearing today, really do make a difference. And sometimes it's not until later that you do this kind of reflection, and then that's when you think, well, geez, yeah, wow, they really pushed the boat out there for me.
And it's a run from Sydney to Melbourne. It's 1,300 kilometres over 25 days, averaging around about 50 kilometres a day. And our goal is to start 10,000 conversations. 10,000 conversations on the mental health crisis that's happening right now in Australia. And they say 10,000 hours to become an expert. They say 10,000 steps to become fit and healthy. And as good old Justin Bieber says, it takes 10,000 hours to earn the sweetheart of yours. And as Scott has just noticed, it starts with this, the conversations. Because the other day I was going for a run, and I was running from Byron to Lennox Head. Now, there are two ways. You can go on the freeway, or you can go the coast road. What does Shorty do? Go the coast road. A little bit more hairier, a little bit more exciting. It's one way going this way, one way going that way, 80 to 100 Ks. I wore my shirt, woohoo, right? And these bright yellow socks. I was running towards the traffic. Every car that drove past me, I looked inside, and you know what I saw? A smile. And so on the 9th of September, we head off from Sydney, lockdown dependent, of where specifically we're going to start, and we will be running from Sydney to Melbourne. We'll have a support crew, and I'll get Scott to share specifically who's going to be on our support crew in a minute. But our goal is to hand out 10,000 socks along the way to start 10,000 conversations. So this is where we're getting people to buy socks. We're getting people to donate socks. And it's been an incredible journey so far.
Now, it's not just the 1,300 odd Ks we're going to be running. It's an emotional journey. I've had a pretty interesting relationship with my father over the years. If you want to learn about it, feel free to join us inside the Campfire Project and type in Scott Carson father and watch an interview I did with him. That was the second time we caught up. I went in to learn him because I didn't know him. But I learned about him. I didn't forgive him, but I accepted who he was. I accepted what he's been through in life. It gave me a perspective that I didn't otherwise see, which is so often our case in life. You know, when we see things through a different set of eyes, we see things differently. So it gives us an opportunity to grow beyond the pain. So this journey that we're taking, we're actually taking our fathers. As you heard, Shorty's father left him when he was 5. You heard the story about my father, and there's a lot more to that. We've asked our fathers to be our support crew. Because in life, you got pain, emotional pain. That felt great sharing what we're proud of. We don't do it often because our negative emotional pain holds a bigger story in our lives. So how do we get beyond that? How do we grow beyond that? We need to make your life bigger than the pain. You've got to create a new narrative. So this journey that we're on is not just about a run sharing conversations. It's also a very personal journey. I'm trying to create a new narrative with my father. Shorty's trying to create a new narrative with his father. So we have a story beyond our pain. Halfway through the journey, the kids are going to join us. And my son has only met my father 3 times. He's 10. I had to do something about me so that I could have that conversation with my father, so that I could see him through a different set of eyes, so that his grandchild could be a part of his life. Because all I know about life is everybody does the best they can with what they've got. Nobody ever makes a decision to make the wrong decision. Only on reflection do they realise it's a wrong decision. And then hopefully we've got the courage, the bravery, and the support in our life to take responsibility for that and grow. I'm tired of being downriver picking up bodies. I'm tired of a society that we live in that puts our pressure and our shit on other people because we don't process it. So we walk around with that baggage, and that energy gets dumped on the next person we speak to. If you're in a work scenario, and I'm going off tangent here, but anyway, if you're in a work scenario, right, and something shit happens that day and you hold on to it and you don't process that before you get home, you walk in and dump that on the family that you love. Because believe it or not, you're safe. You know they're going to forgive you, and that's just crap. But it's what we do. And that's why as mentors it's so important to say, hey guys, driving home, you've had a shit day, pick up the phone. Just call me, 5 minutes, tell me what happened, debrief it, get it out of your system. Go home to the ones you love with a heart full. Vice versa. If you're having a tough time at home, and we all have it, we're all under pressure. We've all got, our wives are under pressure, our husbands, they're under pressure. You go to work and you've got all that sitting in the back of your head. Someone leaves a wheelbarrow in the wrong position, leaves a filing cabinet open, so they've turned around to go to the copier. They walk into it. They go, mate, what are you doing? And you unload because you've got all that pressure. On the drive to work, pick up the phone, speak to your mentor. Say, hey, listen, I'm having a tough time at home right now. Can I debrief?
The 8th of August.
Sorry,
Sunday, the 8th of August.
See why Shorty and I are so.
I've got you, bro. I've got you.
I know, Sunday
the 8th of August. Sunday, the 8th of August, we're having a virtual dinner. Get a meal from Marley Spoon, and we're going to sit around the dinner table and have a chat. Scott and I will be sharing a few more stories, and we've got the amazing Elliot Goblet coming as a special guest to share some of his stories, to a bit of a laugh and you know, a bit of some fun times. And we've got different ways and how you can get involved. All proceeds will be going towards these amazing things that we can hand out along the run. And if you want to find out more details about the amazing night on Sunday, the 8th of August, just jump over to ihopeyouaresmiling.com.
Yeah, what do you see as the end goal?
Do you mind if I go, Shorty?
Go for it.
All right. So, and I appreciate you bringing up the brotherhood, because the brotherhood was a part of my life where it was really interesting, because we ran Zoom rooms with well over 50 people, lots of people, and I ran those well.
Yeah.
The reason why I ran them well, so I never used the word I. What I shared with you tonight in here, I didn't share anywhere in there. It wasn't about me.
Yeah.
You know, I sat there with the conversation, and I sat in the background just as towards the end of my time there. And I sat there with a gentleman talking, and I counted 128 times he said I.
Yeah.
And it was Martin, I think you were there on that conversation when I messaged you. You're mentoring, because it's not about you, it's about us. How do we support each other? How do we grow together? Even young mentees, right? It's the best thing. They've put their hand up and said, I need a mentor. It becomes about us.
Yep.
You know? And I look at life, and I look at the opportunities that, you know, we're all in quicksand. We've all got our shit. But if we just pop our heads up just that little bit, and we see somebody else, and we yell out to him, hey, Shorty, he pops his head up just a little bit. Hey, Ian, pops his head up just a little bit. We start climbing out because we start working together. The business of smiles. And we're going to run from Sydney to Melbourne. Is that what we're about? God, no. We're just here to start a conversation. We're just starting it, all right? And the reason why we're partnering up with Mentoring Men is because it's not about today. And John, are you okay with me sharing what our conversations have been? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Because one of the big ones has been, right, how do we do this journey and then not leave?
Yeah.
How do we not leave? How do we not go? You know, and it's so how do we do it well? How do we do? So the location that's been chosen is the last night, and it's an important night to me.
Yeah.
It's very important, because that place is where 3 suicides happen in one day. We're doing this for each other. We're talking about it, but suicide's part of our life.
Yep.
Has been for a long time, you know, and it's majority of people have had suicidal thoughts at some point. Until we normalise the fact that we can actually say, hey, listen, I am suicidal, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
But we've got to create safety and conversation, right? Business of Smiles is going upriver. We're fixing the bridge.
Yeah.
We want to stop people's pain. We don't want to do that, because pain's our biggest growth corridor. But here it is. I want somewhere safe to process it. I want somewhere safe where people can go and say, hey, listen, I'm having a real tough time right now. Go to Mentoring Men. We cannot do this on our own. What we have to do is have different platforms working together so that people can support each other and alternate between them. Because I don't think any of us on this screen has done one thing in their life that's just been absolutely everything, and it's been the bee's knees, and you never have to do anything again.
Yeah.
You got to know where you can actually have the conversations that you need to have. That's the key to this. First thing is be vulnerable. We've all had dark days. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know that. Where do you go here? Well, do you know what? Check out Mentoring Men.
The quality of being vulnerable, of being open, of standing your ground, being authentic, and being present, even when it's uncomfortable, to the strength, right? And I know you guys know that, right? So I'm speaking to the grown-ups, but you know, I would love, right, to just, you know, I love your beautiful smiles, right? And at the end of every smile, it's a welcome, right? And every welcome is a safe space, right? And you're like, so the idea of going around creating 1,300 kilometers of safe spaces, right? 10,000 individual safe spaces, right? Every smile you create. I just freaking love that. Right?
Thank you, John. I've got a question actually about on this journey. What happens when you are overnighting and at these various places? What's your program for involvement in the community when you get there?
We're working with a number of areas along the way on our plan, utilizing the TV, the local radio, local newspaper, and also the local schools. Reaching out to a number of the local schools to see, can we come and have a chat to the kids? Can we share a couple of stories with the local outlets, and have presentations, chats, campfire discussions on the majority of the nights. It's going to be, there's going to be a lot of variations along the way, just due to how long each day will take, and we've got a number of caravans, motorhomes. We're after a couple more that we will be staying in, but also caravan parks along the way, and working with the caravan parks, because they usually have cooking facilities and places in their caravan parks to have these conversations, to have these gatherings. So, come around the campfire. Let's break some bread together. Let's share a story, and let's start a conversation.
I think that's a really good point you make there, John, about how mentoring men or having these conversations with guys impacts directly or indirectly other communities, other family members, other children. I think from what James and Scott have both said about kind of like how they're incredibly proud of their families and incredibly proud of their children, that is something that needs to be broadened, I think, in terms of those conversations, and helping people understand that what we do is not necessarily just about the direct person that we're talking to. It's actually designed to support everybody around that community and around that environment. So I think that's a really good point.
I need smiles, and the only way I can do that is to gift other people socks. I need your help. Yep. And we're all worth it. This journey is no longer just Shorty and I. Every single one of you will be with us. You can't not be. Because we need hope right now. Yeah, and that's why it feels so good.
I'll leave you with this one thing. This thing, it's contagious. Seriously. So as you go and get off this call, and if there's someone in the house, share this. And as you wake up tomorrow and as you get on with your day, share it. Because you are having an impact. You are making a difference, because this is contagious. Thank you very, very much.